Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. You can find us all over social media as Holy BatCast, and that's on Facebook, Twitter, X, YouTube, and Instagram. Yeah, that's all of them. We are also on Patreon, so if you want to support the show, you can do that on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as always, a big thank you to our patrons. You guys are awesome. We appreciate you. You're the coolest listeners and coolest family out there. So big old thank you. You guys make it so much easier to keep the show rolling. We're also part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out all those shows at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm your Bat host, Andy DiGenova. You can find me on all the socials. It's always just my name, Andy DiGenova. So that's Instagram, Twitter, X, Threads, Letterboxd. Yeah, I think that's all of them. Now, this episode, we are getting very close to a special anniversary, 35 years of Batman, aka Batman 89. And so we're going to do some celebrating on this episode. My hunch is there's going to be more celebration to come, but this is a good way to get it started. And so we're going to be talking about some of our favorite moments in the film. And joining me for that, I have a very special guest. Probably the person who is celebrating 35 years of Batman 89 more than anyone else on the planet is my hunch. And so I'm excited to have him. He's from the Epic Film Guys podcast. It is Justin Esquivel. Hey, Justin.
Andy, thanks so much for having me on the show. You might be right. You might be right in the sense that I may be the person on this planet celebrating this anniversary more than anybody else. I don't know. So far, it seems that I might be that guy. But like I was telling you pre-show a little bit, any opportunity for me to sit down and talk about this movie is one that I'm going to take advantage of. So thank you so much for having me on the show.
Of course. Yeah, I'm glad we worked it out. I'm glad we could make this happen. And yeah, I've appreciated our mutual support on social media of our love of Batman, especially Batman 89. And it's nice to actually speak to you as opposed to just, hitting like or cool photo or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So I love it. We had other plans. It's worth noting. We had other plans. We had a great plan and we were ready to go, and someone ruined it, Justin. And it wasn't you, and it wasn't me. And I'm not going to say who it was, but he says crikey, and his name rhymes with Drendon. So anyone listening might know, but we will talk again, hopefully in the near future, when a certain somebody can get his schedule aligned. But we love you, Brendan. We miss you. It's fine. Anyway, so this was a great backup because the Batman 89 love is there, and we're getting very, very close to that 35th anniversary. I want to talk to you more about your Batman fandom, but first, I got to give a shout out to our sponsors over at Manscaped. So fellas, blink if you haven't purchased a Father's Day gift yet. Yeah, we thought so. So today's episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the leaders in below the waist grooming. Maybe your pops, these people who write these, maybe your pops has had a bush since the 70s, and that's okay. Our friends at Manscaped have crafted the total package for his special day. Whether it's for the boys downstairs, his beard, or even the best pair of underwear out there, Manscaped has his bases covered. So head over to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code BATSCAPED. From daddy to zaddy, trust Manscaped. So told you before, I'll tell you again, Manscaped has amazing products no matter what it is you're looking for to up your grooming game, or if you're looking for a great gift for Father's Day or otherwise, or maybe you want it for Father's Day. So let the people around you know that you deserve some Manscaped products, but whether it be the trimmers, the beard kit, the deodorant, the cologne, the nail grooming, all that stuff, it's all excellent. You'll be happy with it. So please, if you're in the market, just go to manscaped.com and again, use that promo code BATSCAPED to get the 20% off and the free shipping. That way you're getting yourself something nice or something nice for a loved one for Father's Day. You're saving money and you are supporting Holy BatCast. So we love everybody who's already done it. And if you haven't, maybe this is the time. Go check it out. No pressure. But if you see something you like, just use that promo code BATSCAPED. Please and thank you. Now back to the topic at hand. Justin, it's your first time on Holy BatCast. We have a tradition here. If it's your first time, I need to know just a little bit about your Batman fandom. And this is going to be the easiest question you answer all night. Your favorite Batman film and why?
Yeah, I'll start right in and say that both of those questions, the answer to both of them will kind of coincide and wrap together in one package. I'll never forget the summer of '89, and I've spoke about this a million times on our own show, Epic Film Guys, but I'm more than happy to talk about it. And I just remember the summer of '89 like it was yesterday. I was 5 years old, and I'd known about Batman. I had a Batman, the Superpowers Kenner Batman figure, and I knew of the character, but I remember just the build up to that movie. And it's interesting to think a lot of people don't have a lot of memories when they're that young, but I remember that whole summer. And I remember,
If I can, I'm just chime in because before we hit record and you told me how old you were, so I did the math and I was like, wow, you were 5 in '89. I was 10, so I'm 5 years older than you.
oh wow, okay,
So I remember it very vividly as well. But I was so impressed when you were like, oh yeah, I was 5. I remember everything. So it really made an impression.
yeah. I mean, I'm very happy that I do remember it all, but I'll never forget the moment sitting on my grandmother's porch and she got the paper, and it was a Thursday, and it was the ad. I actually have it framed, the original newspaper ad, in which I begged my parents, absolutely begged them, and they took me opening night to the no longer existent airport drive-in, which was about 5 miles from where we lived at the time. And I remember the night seeing it. I remember the smell of the popcorn in the air. I remember seeing the bat symbol all over the place, everywhere you looked. And I remember sitting in the back seat with my parents watching the movie. And then 2 weeks later, my dad, knowing how much I would not shut up about the movie, he took me to see it in a regular theater again. And I mean, I remember going everywhere and seeing it, going to the mall, going to the toy store and getting the toys, everything about that. And that connected with me on a deep level, definitely in regards to my love of the character, and which grew over time, but it was the primary reason that I got into cinema, into
Mm.
film, into movies. It was the first big movie that wowed me at a very young age. Some people, you talk to them and it was, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and for like people my daughter's age, like the first Avengers movie.
Mhm.
For me, it was this movie, and like from there, it was literally everything that was related to the character I just consumed, from every movie to collecting comic books to action figures and toys and pretty much everything. And we're doing this a non-video version of your podcast, but if you could look around me right now, you would see I'm in what I call my bat cave, and I have quite a bit of vintage memorabilia just because I love that summer so much. I love that feeling of that movie so much. So it's just ingrained in me. I think, we talk about it on Twitter. People say that they're a stand for a movie or they make a movie their identity. I wouldn't necessarily say that's me with this movie, but if you had to say so, I wouldn't be mad at you.
Not your whole identity, but a nice important part of it,
A very large part of it for sure. I mean,
highlighted, sure.
yes, yes.
It's amazing. We have a lot in common, Justin. Because I've always said for years when people ask me about my love of Batman and especially Batman '89, I said it's not just the movie that made me fall in love with Batman, which has now become a lifelong love. It's the movie that made me fall in love with movies. That has also, become my greatest passion, and sounds like yours as well. And so, yeah, that movie had such an impact on us as well as millions of other people back in the summer of 1989. So I love it, and I'm also sitting in my bat cave, so we've got that in common too.
There it is.
Yep. It's out of control, and I love it, and I'm so grateful that my wife's amazing and is like, yep, you can have your own bat cave and do whatever you want, and she's the best. So
Yeah, I think my wife, when she first started dating me, she was very aware because I was a guy in my 20s and my entire room was action figures, and I had a Batman bedspread, the whole deal, and she still fell in love with me. And I just said, you know what you're in for, so just go along for the ride, baby.
They knew who they married.
Yes.
And it's the coolest girls in the world that when they walk into your room and they see that and they're like, that's cool. I'm good with that. Those, they're keepers. Well, very cool. So yeah, we wanted to celebrate Batman '89. I was trying to think of a way to do it because again, I think that I'm going to celebrate it in other ways as well over the next month or two. And so I was like, let's just keep it simple. Let's just do 10 of our favorite moments. And so without further ado, let's do that. Let's take a look at our 10 favorite moments from Batman. And I'll tell you something else, Justin. It was the easiest list I've ever had to make.
Oh, most definitely.
It was like we decided this, not that long ago, just this morning, and I was like, oh, I got to make that list, and I made the list literally in the walk from my living room to my coffee machine. And I was like, well, that was easy. I literally, I was walking back to make my cup of coffee with my phone, and I was just like, boop, 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 and I was like, how many is that? Oh, that's 11. I'll be fine. So yeah, I made the list in about a minute, and it was great. I love low stress, low homework episodes. So yeah, we'll just go down, and I'm sure there will be overlap, which is why I've got backups, and I imagine you do too.
Of course.
So let's get it started. First of all, what's the first of your favorite moments on your list?
Okay. So I'll start with my number 5 moment. So I will be counting down from 5 to 1 from, I wouldn't say least favorite, but there's so many to choose from. But I will have to say that it's the Flugelheim Museum sequence. 100%. I love the build up to seeing Batman crashing through the skylight. I love the way that Danny Elfman's music is swelling, and it's almost terrifying. It's almost like Bernard Herrmann-esque, and those high strings after Vicky feels she's in danger, and the Joker is basically trying to get every single bit of information he can out of her and also woo her at the same time. And this is one of, I think, Jack's most psychotic moments as the Joker. He tries to use his flower on her, and she clearly sees she's in danger, and then when she splashes the water on him, and then he flips around and does the boo and laughs, the moment of the glass shattering and Batman falling down from the ceiling is just so iconic to me. I just love the build up, the energy of that scene. It's perfection.
Yeah, that's a great choice. It was in my backup list, so I think we're still good. But when the skylight crashes, I can just hear in my brain that Danny Elfman da-da-da, da-da-da, and it comes through, and it was like a great trailer moment. But you're right. I think not a lot of credit has been given up to the build up to that moment, which is just a perfect like crescendo to the tension of that scene leading up to it. So I love it. So if we're talking the moment, we're talking like when the Joker sits down with Vicky through that skylight.
Yeah, I like when they're having the conversation, but right from when they get up from the table, she sees Alicia take off the mask, and she's very frightened by this, and she feels that she's like cornered and in danger. And the second that he's, oh, little song, little dance, Batman's head on a lance, and he starts to grill her, and he starts to corner her against the wall. And then from that moment right to him crashing down. I mean, obviously everything after that is so exciting. I mean, as a kid, you're like, oh my God, he's crashing through. He's using bat gadgets, and then he takes Vicky to escape. And then, of course, we see another moment, which I'm not going to bring up yet. But yes, just that little, very specific portion of that.
Awesome. Great choice. Iconic. But let's be honest, all 10 of these are going to be iconic. Because
for sure. 100%.
Because it's Batman. Awesome. All right. Well, for my number 5, I didn't put them in a specific order. So I'm just going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go with this one because it's one I want to make sure I call out because I think it's appreciated, but I don't think it's as appreciated as so many other moments in the film. And I think that it's like spot on. And that is the Joker's commercial for Smilex.
Amazing moment in the movie.
It's so good. It's so Joker. When you read the script and then you see it in the movie, it's like this is a Joker moment straight out of the comics, and Jack is having the time of his life. It's silly, it's funny, but it's also creepy and morbid with the dead models with the Joker grins. And that commercial, like I said, it is something you would see out of your favorite Joker story in a comic, but we get it in the movie. So I feel like that's one that, you know, the core of the idea really goes to Sam Hamm for putting that in there. And then the way Burton and Nicholson brought it to life was, I think, chef's kiss. And there are just iconic images from that commercial that became their own thing, like the Joker sitting on that fake beach with the fake seagull on the chair. That was
I know, it's great.
that was a poster that they sold the summer of
It was.
1989.
It was. I had that poster.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that poster being up in the hallway of my elementary school. And, when I came back from summer break in 1989, it was up in the hallway because it was like a summer picture of the Joker. And that summer it was all about Batman. So the Joker commercial, I think, is just pitch perfect from beginning to end. And every time it's on, I'm like, man, I don't think people talk about how good this is, because it's really good.
It is. And, it gave that iconic tagline, which is a hashtag now. Love that Joker.
Yeah.
Another great thing about it, which you mentioned the morbid nature of it, which I absolutely adore. The newscast starts out with mentioning the deaths of Candy Walker and Amanda Keeler, the two models, and then he breaks through and airs his commercial for Smilex, and they're like, they're images of them. They're basically like Joker corpses or within the commercial, and I love that. That's something I mention a lot when people, obviously when the movie came out, people mentioned how dark it was because it was so different than anything people had seen. Now it kind of gets lost in the mix, and people kind of say, well, it's more campy, or not campy rap, but it's more upbeat and lighthearted than we would consider now. And I go, listen, context is everything. Tone is everything. A lot of this stuff, you have to read a little bit deeper into it. There's some super dark stuff in that movie, and that's one of those moments for me that's, that dark comedy.
I think that's it. Is like, it's funny, and then you think about it for a few seconds and you're like, oh, it is actually pretty dark and pretty grim. So it's a really tricky balance, but I think, that's just something Burton knows how to do.
Absolutely.
New and improved Joker products with a new secret ingredient. Smiley.
What is this?
Now, let's go over to our blind taste test.
Love that Joker.
Where's it coming from?
All right, what's next on your list?
Okay, so this for me is, I think, my favorite Jack moment. It is Joker's first appearance as the Joker, as he kills Carl Grissom. It's just so iconic in my mind. The imagery, the silhouette coming out, it's me, Sugar Bumps. And he's threatening, he's scary. And then when you see the reveal, minus the purple shoe polish, which I've never cared about. Believe me, I don't care.
Well, I spent 25 years never seeing it. And then, oh no, maybe it wasn't quite 25. I think it was when they called it out on the Shadows of the Bat documentary. That was the first time I ever realized it was there.
And that was 2005.
Yeah, so and that was probably 2005.
Yeah. I mean, it never bothered me, and it still doesn't bother me. There's fans that I've seen say, well, if they restore it again or they do another restoration or 4K or whatever, they should just erase that. And I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah, like leave it. But I didn't notice for years because my eyes were so glued to Jack. I didn't even notice. Yeah. And then when I did notice, I was like, well, I'll be damned. It is there. But you're right. Like, it's not enough to detract from this amazing scene.
No, definitely not. And this scene leads to, there is a cut back to Wayne Manor, and it comes back after he's killed Carl. And I love that he's sitting there in the dark and he's talking to himself. And this is, I think, I have this moment actually tattooed on my leg sleeve for this movie. The image of Jack as the Joker, and it was one of the first images we saw of him in the trailer. He looks maniacal. He looks terrifying. He's got that twinkle in his eye. You can see madness something's going on between those eyes. And for me, at least, that's my favorite Joker moment. And he's not even interacting with anybody. He's not shooting anybody. Batman's not there. I just love it. And the whole, wait till you get a load of me. He actually wipes blood, Christmas blood off of the newspaper, winged freak terrorizes. It's absolutely perfect. And I just love that whole portion so much so. And I know that was, I'm pretty sure, based on what Robert Wool said in the recent Icons Unearthed Batman documentary series, that was like one of the first things that Jack shot as the character. So that's exciting to know that, because he was so spot on. He just had that madness.
Yeah. But you're right. Like when he's sitting there at the desk in the shadows, but like with just enough light and just enough color, I don't think he looks, it's the coolest he looks. He just looks so cool, so creepy, so scary, unmistakably the Joker. Yeah. It's amazing.
Winged freak. Terrorizes. Wait till they get a load of me.
Well, all right. Well, the next one, I know it's, I hope you won't be too angry if I'm going to take this one, but it's I'm Batman.
Oh, well.
Is that,
that was, I think that's a given. I really do think it's a given. Yeah.
I would think so, but I'm like, let's just do it now. Cause it's literally the first one I wrote down. So I'm like, might as well just do it. I mean, the whole introduction of Batman, him taking out those two crooks and then culminating with I'm Batman, that is the scene. But the moment of I'm Batman, it's the first time it was really done, and it became so iconic, and it became such a calling card of the character that now every version kind of has to do a version. They feel obligated in a good way. But that template was set here. That I'm Batman moment, it was in every trailer. It was in every TV spot. It's at the beginning of the Prince album, even if it's not Michael Keaton's voice for some reason. I don't know.
Very true. You know what? I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I listened to Prince's Batman album at least, and I'm not even messing with you, at least once a week. And I've been doing that for, let's see here, for almost 35 years, Yeah. And I've always noticed that that's not Keaton at all.
Yeah. I don't know why, but it could have been like a, some sort of contractual thing where it's like, oh, they would have to pay him because he's on the album, so they got someone else. I don't know. Anyway, point is, the I'm Batman moment is, a piece of cinema history. The way it's shot is amazing, in profile with the crook, and just Batman looks great. His delivery is spot on, where it is scary but quiet. Keaton's more subtle bat voice, I just think, is perfect. And yeah, the I'm Batman moment, it doesn't get more memorable. And again, it's etched in cinema history at this point.
I agree. And I think it's the best of the I'm Batman moments. I do like Bale's quite a bit.
Same.
I will say that his would be almost as perfect if we didn't have the nice coat line right after that, which I've never liked, because it removes how powerful it is. Now, I'm sure what John Peters originally, what was in the script, or whatever, rather, what this line was supposed to actually be.
It was I Am the Night.
And
that was even in the comic adaptation, if I remember. Yeah.
And then Peters wanted him to say, I don't know if I can swear on your podcast or not, but
you can. That's fine.
Yeah, the I'm Batman motherfucker line.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Imagine that. Cause
that's madness.
There's almost no foul language in this movie. I'm not sure if in 1989 the one F word would have given them an R. I wouldn't even need it, but I like the idea of it.
That is funny. Yeah, I forgot about it, but that sounds very John Peters. I think they made the right call, personally.
Agree.
But yes. But I think that was like a last minute on set change, because obviously it was in the script and it was on the page long enough for it to be in the comic adaptation and in the novelization.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to know, being a fly on the wall. I just had Michael Uslan on my show, and he talked about being on set for that moment and actually hearing Michael say that line. So maybe if I do a part 2 with him, I can have him elaborate a little bit further, but just to be there to see that. Can you imagine?
Yeah, no kidding.
Blow your mind.
That's awesome.
Don't kill me, man. Don't kill me, man.
I'm not going to kill you.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
All right, well, there you go. That's my next choice. What is your next choice?
My number 3 has got to be the Batwing Joker balloon sequence, which for me, it's not only one of my favorite sequences or scenes or moments, if you will, of the movie, but it's also one of my favorite pieces of music that Danny Elfman put together and created for the movie. Every single time as a kid, I would look for the whole movie. I would look forward to that moment, and I'm still doing the same thing as an adult. I just absolutely love everything about it. I love the way that it's shot. I love the use of miniatures. I love the matte paintings. I love the energy to the sequence. It's just so exciting to watch. So it's got to, and then of course, you know, I'm stretching it from sequence from moment, but no one can deny, you know, Julian Caldo's amazing idea for having the Batwing go in front of the moon. I mean, it's just that image is so much a staple of the movie, just as much as I would dare say, you know, the gold bat symbol that's on the iconic theatrical poster and teaser poster and every other marketing material. It's just that image is just ingrained in your brain. Like people talk about that scene even today that aren't even huge fans of the movie, and they love it so much. So
Yeah.
it's got to be the Batwing, everything to do with the Batwing in its initial appearance.
Awesome. I remember in the theater when the Batwing went up and made the silhouette against the moon. And it's crazy because I don't remember applause. What I remember is more of a, oh, like it was like there was this wave over the audience of everyone being like, oh my God. Like they hadn't figured out that the Batwing was in the shape of the symbol until that moment. And so it was just a very cool, like realization. It was like a light bulb went off in the theater that day.
It's an awe-inspiring moment. I will say, you know, because I've seen the movie in theaters now, I think 15 times, including the first 2 times in '89, because we screened it as many opportunities as we can at Alamo Drafthouse. I've seen it on 35 millimeter a few times over the years. But most recently, when they did do the live orchestra presentation here in DC, that moment, I tell you, Andy, did get applause.
Oh, now,
people were
yes.
on their feet. And I loved the energy in that room for that presentation because people were just so ready to experience that movie in that way.
Yeah.
And when that happened and people cheered, I imagined in my head that hopefully, you know, when I was 5 years old, it had the same presence to the crowd.
Yeah. When, I mean, like you said, I've seen it in the theater many times over the years in the past 35 years.
Right.
Whenever it's on the big screen, I got to go. Now, yes, because it's full of fans, it does always elicit applause. But again, my memory of it 89 was more of a, oh, wow, that's, you know, that kind of idea. But yeah, it's terrific. And I was able to go to Batman in concert as well here. Oh my God.
That's right. I remember you seeing your photos. That's great.
Yeah, a month or two ago. And you're right. It was awesome just being in there with fans. And I started the applause most of the time. So but
I was cheering.
Everyone followed.
I was pushing that forward for sure. But I mean, I was very surprised. I was so happy just to see everyone there waiting and ready to just be excited about this and view the movie in this format and just, you know, experience it like it's the first time again.
Yeah, absolutely.
My balloons. Those are my balloons.
He stole my balloons! Why didn't somebody tell me that he had one of those things?
All right, the next one on my list is Descent into Mystery.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's probably, I think, the one for me. Like that's the one.
I mean, this is my favorite Batmobile. Most people tend to agree it's the best Batmobile.
Oh, totally agree.
And I love the sequence that precedes this. But after the whole, the chase and the fight and everything with Batman getting Vicky out of there and the Joker's goons, and after all that is done, and then you cut to that amazing stylized forest and you see the Batmobile coming, and it's one of the best pieces of music that Danny Elfman did. And it's funny, I'm seeing a bit of a pattern here as we're talking about these moments.
Definitely.
So many of them lean into the amazing score by Elfman, and this is another one. This is one of my favorite Batman music tracks. This music is amazing. You see that Batmobile racing through the forest, and this is the one moment you really get to see it open up and go as fast as it really can. And it looks so damn cool. The forest looks just real enough, but with a little bit of like that Burton surrealism in it.
Definitely.
Oh, it's just one of my favorite moments in the film. And it's one where I always lean in, and it's just, everything works together and it's beautiful.
I've been totally honest about this. Every single time I've talked about this movie on any podcast or in person with anybody, any discussions, introductions, but I shit you not, this scene makes me cry every time. I tear up. It just wells up and I get goosebumps on my back. No matter how many times I've seen it or I hear it, even when I listen to just the score, that music just every single time, it just hits me. It's absolute perfection. And this is Burton at his best, I think. And he just nailed everything about the aura, the feeling, the atmosphere of this. And I loved how you mentioned like the forest and everything. That's definitely Tim Burton design that we see kind of shine through in other movies after the fact. That's one of his earlier, you got to think, Beetlejuice, he did some cool, creepy stuff, obviously, but he didn't get into the dark gothic look of everything until Batman. And then from there on. And it's just that moment for me when they said Phantom of the Opera of the 80s, like that moment encapsulates that for me.
Yeah, totally. And again, the way the music builds from when it's in the distance and then you get that big crescendo of the theme just as it's hitting the camera or getting right there in the foreground, it's so good. This was the moment where right after the intermission for Batman in Concert.
Right, exactly.
And for them to start right back up with this music, same thing. I like leaned forward and got goosebumps because I'm like, like I was rocking out like it was a rock concert because this piece of music is just that good, and then the visuals match it. So yeah, amazing.
And also to hear that played live, with actual orchestra, and then for them just to knock it out of the park. It was just so exciting,
Yep, absolutely, so cool. All right. Well, what is your next one? I guess your number 4, I think is what we're on.
So yeah, this is my number 2. Because I'm counting down.
Oh, you're going the other way. Yes.
Yeah, I'm going the other way. I'm just so how we do countdowns on our show is just ingrained in my memory. So
all good.
You'll have to excuse me. And since you already mentioned the I'm Batman scene, which I originally had here, I'm going to have to put in the Wayne's death scene.
Oh, okay.
And I still believe, I know we've seen it done on film a number of times since Tim Burton's film, but I still think it's the best version. I still think it's this surrealist, dreamlike, just very like frightening, but also very emotional feeling to everything. I liked how Nolan did it. I definitely did not like how Zack Snyder did it. But I felt like it's in Bruce's head and he's recollecting his thoughts and it's coming back to him, after he sees Jack's face on his monitor and it connects with him. Oh my God, this is the guy. But I've always loved how tragic that scene is. And again, Burton shines once again with how he demonstrates his ability to understand these characters. And what, again, one could argue, well, it shouldn't have been the Joker. And here I've always thought this, and we've had fans talk about this for years. And Andy, I was so happy to have Michael Uslan mention this recently, not to spoil the whole episode. So, your fans that haven't listened yet can come over and check it out. But, obviously Tim really wanted the Joker to be Batman's killer. Spoiler alert, Batman's parents' killer, of the Waynes. And, he juggled with it for a while. Sam Hamm didn't want it to happen. Once Michael talked to Bob Kane and he said it was fine, he's okay with it or whatever. Not that I care much about what Bob Kane thinks, but
we laughed a little bit about that where because Uslan told that story on the Icons on Earth.
Icons on Earth, yeah, exactly.
And it was the first time I ever heard him say A, that he was uncomfortable with it, and B, that Bob Kane had signed off on it. I didn't know that. But I was like, yeah, but Bob Kane seemed like the kind of guy who's like, listen, man, they wrote me a check, they can do what they want. I just feel like he didn't care that much.
He didn't. And what I love about what Michael said, what Bob actually said, he said, if I had created the Joker, that's what he said to him. If I had created the Joker, he actually said that to him. So he admitted it, even though in everything else, when I created the Joker, when I did this, when I did that. But he said, if I had created the Joker, I would have had him been Batman's parents' killer.
Huh.
But it was interesting to hear that Michael absolutely demanded that there be another goon with Jack in that sequence, just for fans, just in the event that they go, is that Joe Chill? And fans for years and years have been saying, oh, that's Joe Chill. I think that's Joe Chill. It's got to be Joe Chill. And he finally just admitted that that was implemented there purposely just so fans could think that. And I thought that was really awesome because I'm like, wow, I've been telling fans, listen, look on IMDb, look what the, goon number 2, whatever the hell his character name is in the movie. He doesn't have a name, I'm pretty sure.
Nope.
So it's like, but it was exciting to hear that. And that scene to me, a lot of fans now are like, there's not enough character development for Bruce or Batman in the first Batman. I go, to most of them, listen, that one moment is powerful enough. I don't think that you needed all that much more than that. So I think it's just one of those moments.
So I got to tell you, watching this movie for 35 years, it never once dawned on me that Jack's friend could be Joe Chill.
Wow.
I'd never heard that theory. I've never heard anyone say it until just now. And I was like, I really like that. But yeah, that's literally the first time I've ever heard it.
I mean,
I dig it. I think that's a fun little way to kind of have your cake and eat it too.
For sure. I mean, and just having the extra guy in there, I've always thought it made the dynamic of the scene better anyways. But, I'm sure there were fans, hardcore comic book purists at the time that probably were bothered by this moment. And, me being 5, you said you were 10. I've talked to a lot of people that I'm friends with that were like late teens, early 20s when they saw the movie that were hardcore fans. And I always like to pick their brain. Like, you already had like a vast knowledge and history and love of this character and in what his story means. And did this stuff bother you, or did it bother audiences? Did it bother the hardcore fans? Because all I ever hear about or read or anything is that fans, the majority of them, the large majority, loved the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And felt like it was an accurate depiction. So that's always a very curious thing. And I like to think about that. I just always wonder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and not to go off on too much of a tangent, but like you said, I was 10 when I saw it. So during this moment, I just took it at face value and I was like, okay, great. Jack Napier killed them. Didn't think twice about it. Cause I don't think I even knew about Joe Chill at that point.
I definitely didn't either.
And then I got older and I started collecting comics and reading. And then, I learned about Joe Chill and realized it. So, as an adult, it's not what I would do. I still like the Joe Chill version better, but because I love the rest of the movie so much, it's like, it just doesn't affect my opinion of the movie that much, but it's one of those nitpicks from fans where I go, yeah, I get it. Jack Napier shouldn't have killed the Waynes. I've never been super into it in my adult life, but also the rest of the movie's so damn good, I don't really care.
I agree with you, and I think what it boils down to, and not to go too long on this subject, but I think he always talks about psychological profiles for his characters, and I think just for him, he really wanted that tension between the two characters to be
Yeah.
deeply personal. You know, we've obviously known that originally he wanted them to be, you know, they were both orphans and in the same orphanage together, and one got adopted and the other didn't, and all these things, which I'm glad never made their way into the movie, but you know, he got to do that, and in the end, it's one small piece, and it's his
Right.
version,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now we have, you know, 35 years later, so many different interpretations since then of the character and his origin, and it's, you know, it's just one version, so it
Yeah.
doesn't ruin anything or spoil anything.
Yeah, agreed. And back to your original point, I do love the way Burton shot and edited The Death of the Waynes. That was the original. That was the original great moment, right? Because what you kind of got to it, what I love about it is it's dreamlike. It's not exactly how things happened; it's how Bruce remembers it happening.
Exactly.
And I always loved the kind of hypnotic, dreamlike version of it. I always loved the detail that the Waynes, when they're walking, their feet are all in sync. And then Jack and his buddy, Joe Chill or not, they are out of sync because they're the bad guys. And I always thought that was kind of a nice moment. And
it's a great little detail there. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great, cool, very stylish and very, like I said, hypnotic and mesmerizing version of the Wayne's death. And I think it's awesome too. And again, Elfman's music. Who knew?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Extremely eerie, very dark. And that is one thing that I definitely remember from seeing the movie, not the first time in the drive-in, but the second time in the theater, is that I was frightened, very much frightened by that scene at the age of 5. And I think it's meant to. It is one of the most visceral, violent moments of the entire movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell me, kid, you ever dance with the devil by the pale moonlight?
Man, let's go! Let's go, Jack!
All right, so this is my second to last choice, I guess, and I'm going with another Joker moment. I think it is another one of those where it's just a pure Joker moment, and I have only grown to love it more as the years have gone on to now where it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and that is the Joker's conversation with the charred corpse.
Yes. Oh, God, I love it. It's absolutely just perfect Joker.
He is a vicious bastard, Ratelli, and I'm glad you're dead. That is so good. And again, it's so Joker. Like for him, it is totally normal. He's literally having a one-sided conversation, but he has so lost it that he can hear the other voice. And Jack's performance, amazing. The reaction shots he does where he's hamming it up, but also
Like,
pretending
grease
like
him
he's listening.
now?
Yeah. And the punctuation of "I'm glad you're dead" is hilarious. And again, when you think about it for more than a second, you're like, it's also really dark and really evil. Like he's so happy that he killed this guy. And it's just an amazing moment because just like we were talking about with the commercial, it is both dark and funny and they nail it.
Absolutely. Again, back to what I was saying earlier on in the episode, Andy, people talk about the movie being lighter than they remember, but this was literally the Joker talking to a guy he just burnt to a crisp. He murdered in front of a whole group of people with the hand buzzer. Like that's grotesque, man. That's super dark. That's violent as hell. And obviously, you know, some of the effects in terms of the flames on his face and stuff don't hold up quite as well now 35 years later, but the actual essence of the scene remains impactful, and I absolutely love that. Again,
and I think that's it. I think is because the effects are a little cartoony and not ultra realistic. It's what allowed audiences to laugh at the scene instead of
Sure.
being disturbed by the scene. But like you said, if you look just under the surface at what is actually happening, it is very disturbing.
Well, I actually love that this is on your list. I love this sequence. I've always loved it. You know, the fact when he says, "You're a vicious bastard, Ortelli, I'm glad you're dead," and he walks away, and he's just maniacally laughing as he walks away from the corpse, as if the corpse can hear him. He's laughing to himself. That's how insane he is, the Joker.
Yeah.
And also, when you watch the Making of a Hero documentary, which, God damn it, Warner Brothers, you need to put it on some special edition version of the movie. It's out there on YouTube. It's been restored by people. My good friend James, who runs Batman, the 1989film.com, has the original version of it. Just put it on there. Just slap it as a bonus feature. It's great. But I love that Tim actually talks about on that being one of his favorite scenes to shoot. Like, it's one of his favorite moments of the movie. And for obvious reasons, you know, that he's just talking to a corpse, which I quite like. You know, I just absolutely love that.
I'm going to make a note of the Making of a Hero. I need to revisit that too. But
yeah, that's another one that I watch way too much. You know, it's probably, I'm shocked because Warner Brothers owns it. They have it. I don't know why they haven't put it on any DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, any version of any home video version of the movie at all, when they could just slap it on there. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah. All right. Maybe they're saving it for the next anniversary to get me to buy the movie all over again. Wouldn't put it past them, but yeah, very cool. Glad to hear it's been remastered on YouTube. I'll check that out.
You are a vicious bastard, retaliate. I'm glad you're dead. I'm glad you did.
All right. Well, then, what is your final choice?
My final choice. Well, you already chose it, and obviously, it's your show, so I'm not going to step on your toes. But I will let our listeners know out there that it was Descent into Mystery.
Oh no!
But
Sorry.
No problem. I mean, obviously, I think that just encapsulates the movie, the vibe, the tone, the feeling, the excitement, everything about what makes it just the movie that it is and why it's so special and important to all of us. But I will choose a moment with my good friend Carl Newman, which is the ending shot of the movie, which is built up upon, we received a letter from Batman this morning, and, you know, he does Billy D. Williams does the whole line and everything. And then Knox asks, question, how do we call him? And then the moment that Pat Hingle's Commissioner Gordon says, he gave us the signal. And then they put on the bat signal into the sky. Another chill inducing moment. But I love that panning up, the camera going up the miniature buildings in Gotham. And then we get to the shot of Batman, his cape flowing in the wind with the bat signal in the sky. That is Batman. I mean, everyone leading up to this movie, I think I can imagine being a lifelong Batman fan and seeing that shot, that moment had to have been pure bliss. And to me, another great moment for Danny Elfman, his rendition of the score and the way it builds that entire shot of going up those buildings and it cutting and cutting. And then when it gets to it and those crash cymbals and those drums, it's one of the most iconic moments in Batman history. So I have to put it up there. And the fact that for so many years, Andy, a lot of fans thought that was a model of Batman. They thought that wasn't a real person. And Carl Newman, you know, since he's been on the fan scene the past couple years, has told the behind the scenes stories. He was on my show, I think it was last summer, when he talked about it a little bit too. That was me. Tim had me do all those sequences. I filmed all that. And that's pretty exciting to know, you know, that it's him up there. It's him in the suit. I love that sequence. That's just pure Batman. So that's got to be up there for me.
Awesome. Well, that was my final choice as well.
Oh my
So,
God! Oh, we,
so
we finally had a crossover on our
we,
answers there.
well, we had a few, but we just kept adjusting. But yeah, that was the last one on my list. But I do have a backup that I'll talk about in just a second. But I want to talk about this first because yeah, it is one of my favorite shots of Batman in any media at all. It's perfection. It's the perfect final shot to this film. I remember sitting in the theater and that being the final shot to the film, and that music crescendos, and like you said, that heroic rendition of that Batman music at the end is one of my favorite pieces of Batman music. For years, when I started the show, that was the music I would play at the end of the show before I got original music. That was what I would use because I love it so much. It's this great, wonderful, heroic moment and just an iconic shot of Batman, our hero, right there against the sky with the bat symbol in the sky, and it's amazing. I'm glad you mentioned Carl Newman. He's been on the show as well. I'm glad that he is out there and people finally realize how much he did to bring Batman to
much.
life.
Yeah,
and it's amazing. And now when I rewatch the film and we talk about these different moments that it was Carl and not Keaton, it always makes me happy to think of Carl, and he's just one of the nicest human beings I've ever, had the pleasure of talking to. And so when we chatted, he sent me that shot signed, and it's, right here behind me as we talk.
Does it have the white background as the lobby card?
No, I got the one without the white background.
Okay.
Just
I was only gonna ask because I designed those for him.
Did
you? Yeah, I put together when he first started coming onto the scene. I threw a couple of images on original lobby card backgrounds for him so he'd have something.
Oh, nice.
So many people that wanted autographs, and I said, here, because you deserve them. And I'm pretty sure he only had, I think, one shot on any of the original lobby cards. So,
oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. Worlds are colliding, Jerry. But that's so cool. But yeah, I was like that. There's no other question of what shot I wanted because it's this. This is, if I talk about like favorite Batman moments or favorite Batman shots, it's always this one. So kudos to Carl. Amazing final note for the movie to go out on. And yeah, just one of the best and coolest looking shots of the Bat we've ever seen.
Absolutely.
So then I guess what I'm going to go with for my backup as my final choice, it actually kind of dovetails nicely with that final shot, and that is the suiting up moment right before the third act of the film. So right after Vicky and Bruce have their little romantic chat in the Batcave, and he says, "I got to go to work," and we see that safe open and the suit there waiting for him, and you just goes those couple shots of the belt, the emblem, and the cowl rising up into the light with Keaton's eyes illuminated. That moment and the music yet again, the Elfman music, that moment is, you're like, oh, hell yeah. It is time.
I mean, this is definitely on my backup list for sure. It's there in my top 10. Question for you. I want your opinion on this. Is this moment in this movie the reason why we've had so many suit up moments in other comic book movies since? I mean, we know how influential this movie is for the genre in general, and that we wouldn't have the movies we have today without it. But I feel like this is just like the quintessential suit up scene.
It definitely is. I don't know if I can credit it like for all these other suit up scenes because directors just love shooting their heroes getting suited up, and I don't think that was something new to Batman. It just looks really great when Batman does it. So I don't know if I would give it credit for it, but it is certainly arguably my favorite one.
I mean, obviously this is like only the second real comic book movie.
Yeah.
In terms, obviously, Superman had its thing, but he always would just, open the shirt. And
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
So in terms of the genre, I should say specifically,
mm.
I mean, it's kind of a thing.
Perhaps,
but I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, and we've had other characters suit up in other movies for sure.
Yeah, that's all I'm just thinking about is I'm like, because it always looks cool. It's always a great moment, and this is certainly no different. And it's just awesome. And it is funny because it's the most efficient of the Batman suiting up moments, and yet somehow probably the most effective.
Exactly.
I mean, for the Schumacher films, man, like it's the whole opening credits of just choom, 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 this, and it was like, yeah, sometimes brevity is the soul of wit.
Yeah, for sure.
Although I still kind of like the other one too.
Oh yeah, I definitely do. I mean,
don't get me wrong. I like
every Batman suit up scene for sure. I like suit up scenes in general. Like it's just, especially, watching these movies growing up with them, it's exciting. It's a moment to get excited and go, our hero or whoever we're watching is about to go kick some ass.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. Because he's out there and I got to go to work. And it's just like, boom, boom, boom.
I mean, to be fair, and also, that's one of the best lines in the movie. I love that line.
Yeah.
That's, again, another moment that this is pure Batman. Like, he knows what he has to do. He just explained to her, I don't know why I have to do this. I just have to do this, And he's out there right now and I have to go to work. He knows this is his destiny. He's driven towards this. There's nothing that's going to stop him. And I absolutely love that.
Well, I mean, yeah. And it again, I do understand, as you said earlier, that folks are like, like they don't dig into Batman enough. And I get that. But you think about moments like this and you're like, man, she's sitting here in the Batcave being like, I need you to tell me what's going on with us. And he's like, I can't because I got to go to work. That's Batman. Batman's like, I don't have time for your relationship stuff because I have a job to do. And that's more important.
Yeah. I mean, and to be fair, well, I won't go there. That's the. I was going to say earlier on, I mean, she did fall for him pretty quick, but
yeah.
It didn't work out clearly.
Yeah, it didn't, well, there are two truths and she had trouble reconciling them.
And I had trouble reconciling.
I had trouble reconciling. But yeah, anyway, regardless, you're right. It's a great moment where he's like, listen, like we can deal with this later because I got to go to work. And then, yeah, there's that.
And we know that they'll never actually truly deal with it because he'll never be able to.
Right. But it's just that perfect transition into that final third act. And boy, is it effective. And that final shot of that cowl, of him looking up in that cowl, I remember that being in the commercials for when it was finally coming to TV.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's in all the TV spots.
Yes, that's what I remember of just being like, for the first time on whatever it was, ABC or NBC, I don't remember which one, but whatever, Batman. And it was just that shot of that cowl and he looks so good in it. So
I'd like to. But he's out there right now. And I've got to go to work.
Yeah, amazing scene, amazing suit. And I've said this before, and I'm sure you agree, man, like Burton just knew how to shoot the hell out of that suit and made it look amazing in just every shot. And we know how cumbersome that suit was, and we know how hard it was to wear from people like Carl and even Keaton. And yet every time Burton shot it in that movie, and credit to his DP as well, but they just knew how to shoot it that it always looked amazing.
Yeah, Roger Pratt, who was the DP on the movie, absolutely did a brilliant job. But much like what you just said, you would never be able to tell how difficult that thing was to move in because every single shot you saw it. And, obviously we have the bat turn. I love the bat turn. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite things ever to do with the character. So I have no problem with that. I mean, one of the most iconic moments of the movie, which is another backup for me, spoiler alert, is, it seems I have a bat in my belfry. Shall we dance? Ha ha ha. And then he does the flip around, the bat turn around. Mm-hmm. He's all bloody, beaten, burned, bruised, but he's still there and he's still going for it. You would never know because Carl did such a great job. Everybody else, Sean McCabe, Dave Lee, everyone that was involved in bringing that character to life physically, props to them, because you would never know that it was so difficult to work in, because it's so fluid and so beautiful on screen. And the lighting is still, to this day, I talk about this, and while I've loved pretty much every single live action interpretation of the character in film, I always say I miss the way Burton shot and how they lit the character in these movies.
Yeah.
I just love it. With this and Returns, I just love, he would just have him engulfed in darkness and you would just see his eyes. And I'm like, why doesn't anyone else do that? It's such a huge part of the character in the comics and every other medium. Why wouldn't you just do it? But again, I digress. That's Tim Burton for you. We're lucky we got it in 2 movies.
I know, and I'm right there with you. I mean, when me and my wife went and saw Batman in concert, and when it was over, she said something to that effect. She's like, Burton he just got it right, and it's so true. And I have loved most versions of Batman, but when you think about every time we get a new version, the more I appreciate what Tim Burton did. It just finding this sweet spot in tone and, and visuals and everything, and just making the world real enough, but fantasy enough, and just finding the right spot. And I feel like that's a tougher trick to pull off. And somehow he did it on his 3rd movie.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's a miracle. I think that it was meant to be,
Yeah. Yeah. He was the right guy at the right time and made it happen. And here we are now, 35 years later, celebrating how awesome it was.
And I'm glad to be here doing it with you, Andy. Thanks again for having me on, for sure.
Of course.
It was a blast.
It was. So there you go. Those are our 10 moments. I'm happy with that list. Those are 10 awesome moments. But again, I had like 1, 2, 3. I had quite a few backups that we didn't even get to. So it just goes to show there are no shortage of amazing moments.
Yeah, definitely not.
Sequences.
Yeah, definitely not.
It's really easy. So very cool. So 35 years of Batman and just 10 of many awesome moments in the film. But we'll wrap it up. Justin, I am glad that we made this happen, and I love sharing the passion of this film with you and hearing it coming directly from you.
Thanks again. Yeah, I mean, anytime, anything Batman related that I can be a part of and participate in, I'm always willing if I have the availability. I mean, you and I, like you said earlier on in the show, we've been connecting on social media, mostly on Twitter, for the past couple of years, and just always loved your passion of Batman. And I like to think of Epic Film Guys, over the last 4 years or so, as kind of being a horror-centric show, but you got Batman too. I'm making sure you're getting Batman in there. We cover all kinds of movies, but mostly it's horror, and I do as much Batman as I possibly can whenever I get the opportunity. So yeah, again, it was a pleasure. And I know we've been talking about something else. I won't spoil it for your listeners, but I'm very excited to do that as well with you.
Me too. We're going to make it happen. I'm saying it right now, and it's going to be a blast. So I'm really glad we did this as well. You mentioned earlier the Epic Film Guys, and like you said, you just recently had on Michael Uslan to also celebrate 35 years of Batman. So tell folks where they can find that or where they can find you.
Yeah, Epic Film Guys is on every single podcast platform. Anything you like, we're there. And we're all over social media at Epic Film Guys, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Threads. I mean, TikTok. We're literally every single place. If you look, you'll find us.
Awesome. And I should just say thank you on the record for you. You've always been super supportive, and I just appreciate that. It's nice to meet other just nice, friendly, passionate people in the Batman fandom. So it's really been a pleasure.
Oh, no problem. You're very welcome. And like I said, I can tell the good people from, no offense to the people that aren't good, but there are a lot of people out there that do what we do. And some of them are really great people, down to earth, chill people that are like-minded. And then there's people that are just, it is what it is, especially knowing that, we're both on Twitter. I'll never call it X, by the way, ever. But we're both on there. So you're very aware of some of the kind of stuff we see on a daily basis. So it can be difficult being a content creator, a podcaster, a YouTuber, but I'm pretty sure I can spot the good ones when I see them. So always.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. And for everybody out there listening, you guys already know where to find us, but there will be no Wayne Manor mailbox on this episode because I'm recording it out of order because I'm going to be out of town. So we just had the Batman 89 chat, and that's going to be enough. A nice little efficient and succinct episode for a change. So there you go. I'm giving you guys time back for your week. But thank you all for joining us as always. Thanks for downloading or streaming the show. Please do follow or subscribe to Holy BatCast wherever you get your podcasts. Something else that you can do to support us doesn't cost a penny. All it costs is a moment of your time. Just a nice review wherever you get your shows. That would be awesome. A nice review goes a long way. Again, find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. And if you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, which we will get to in the next episode, you can send all those messages to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by the talented Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And don't forget to check out our sponsors at manscaped.com. Use that promo code BATSCAPED and get your 20% off and free shipping. But that will do it for this episode. On behalf of Justin and myself, Andy, this has been Holy BatCast, and we'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for. Or should I say, love that Joker?